In this video, we're going to talk about how to grow your law firm with these 5 tips. In working with hundreds of law firm owner clients, I realized that there needs to be a system, a process, a way that you can follow and we get the same results from client to client. Because of that, we developed a framework called the Law Firm Growth Formula. And that framework has 3 main components: plan, grow, and scale. In this video, we're going to focus in on the grow component. So the first thing to understand is that grow and scale are 2 different things. And if you think about capacity of your firm, like how much work can we handle? The grow phase is when we fill the capacity. It's the work of making sure that everything that we have is being put to use close to 100%, 80 to 100%. In the scale phase, we're saying, okay, we're now maxed out. How do we take on more clients? We need to make this bigger. We increase the capacity. So we're going to focus on filling your capacity. With each of the main components of plan, grow, and scale, there's a behavior attached to it. The behavior attached to grow is accountability. The only way to consistently make progress in the grow phase is to be accountable to yourself. And by being accountable to your actions, the things that you say you're going to do, you're going to create consistency in your business. And consistency is what's going to fill that capacity that you have. Now, if you look at our framework outside of the grow circle, we have 3 components, and they are marketing, sales, and automation. Tip number 1, create a system for accountability. What does this mean? It means that you have to have a process to make sure that you're doing what you say you're going to do. What we find works for our clients is to have a planner that has a very detailed plan for the week. This is what I'm going to do on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. Find the system that works for you and make sure that you stay accountable to the actions that you set out to do. Tip number 2, be really purposeful on your marketing efforts. It means don't just throw mud at the wall and see what sticks, but really think about what you need. My friend Cassidy Lewis, a CMO of a major law firm in Virginia, she shared with me this concept of leads today versus leads tomorrow. Do you need business today, or is the efforts that you're doing building your pipeline for tomorrow? That's the first thing that you need to be clear on. If you need leads today, you're going to make efforts that are going to close sales today. You're not going to be working on SEO, which is a long-term game plan. If you need leads tomorrow, you're going to be working on those marketing efforts that are going to prepare you for tomorrow. So the other thing that you want to be focused on with marketing is just making sure that you're marketing in the right place. Think of it like this. If you're a fisherman and you go out into a lake that's man-made and has no fish in it, you're not going to catch any fish. You have to go into the sea. And not only that, you have to know which is the spot. Where are the fish swimming that I'm going to catch the most fish? And it's the same with marketing. Make sure that your efforts are actually where your clients are going to be. The last part of this tip is to pick the low-hanging fruit first. We tend to overcomplicate business. With marketing, there's people who are ready to buy, and then there's people who need to be educated to buy, and then there's people who need to be convinced to be educated to be buyers or consumers of yours. Find the people who are ready and waiting, looking for you first. And then once you maximize that, then you go to the next step. Tip number 3, have a system for closing sales. Well, the first part of this is to understand who you are as a salesman. A lot of law firm owners I run into think that they are the best salespeople in the legal industry because they have an 80% or even 100% close rate. What they don't realize is all of their leads are coming from referrals. If your best friend tells you to use this attorney, chances are you're walking in there and saying, "Where do I sign?" So until you start getting cold leads into your business, until you start getting people who never heard from you, you can't really judge how good of a salesperson you are in this process. The second thing that I want you to understand is that nobody wants to have an interaction with a used car salesman. When you are approaching a client, take the time to understand their story. Take the time to understand what their pain, to understand their frustration, to understand what makes them tick so that you can use that in your sales conversation with them to position your services as the solution to that problem. The last piece of this tip is to have a system for scalability. What does that mean? It means that as you go through the sales process, identify the way you're taking clients through and use it the same for every single one. To create this cookie cutter approach, because what that does is it allows you to get out of that process. When you're ready to bring on a salesperson, now it's going to be easy because you already identified the exact process they need to follow to get clients into your firm. Tip number 4, Automate before you delegate. Now, this is a key to profitability. There are going to be other videos in this YouTube channel where I talk about different types of billing systems for law firm owners. And Automation is key to the profitability in those systems. Make sure that you're subscribed to this YouTube channel so that you know when we release those videos. And the last tip is measure your performance. Now, this is where people get stuck, where they hear the words KPIs and all of a sudden their eyes glaze over and they're like, I don't know, I'm not doing that. But here's why you want to make sure that you're measuring performance. It's not just about being efficient. It's not just about creating profitability. But remember when I talked about the law firm growth formula, and we have the planning phase, we have the grow phase, we have the scale phase? Well, how are you going to know when you're ready for the scale phase? You don't want to be stuck in a situation where you say yes to a client and then you can't deliver on their services. Measuring performance is just as much about knowing where you're at and also knowing what you don't have, knowing when you're at capacity and you now need to expand that capacity. So being able to recognize when you're completing the grow phase and you're ready to move to the scale phase is just as important. And that is my final tip. If this sounds like a lot, it sounds like, hey, I don't even know where to start, that's okay. We've got you covered in the Law Firm Growth Elite Expansion Coaching Program. Check it out at profitwithlaw.com/elite.